Hey guys, it's Helena. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about why the fashion industry is unsustainable and what I've learned about the industry throughout studying fashion design and just watching other documentaries and just learning about the industry. So the three main reasons why the current fashion industry is unsustainable is because of fast fashion, the amount of resources and pollution that fashion causes, and also the lack of transparency in the supply chain and garment worker exploitation. So fast fashion is one of the main reasons why the current fashion industry is unsustainable. And growing up, I didn't know what fast fashion brands were, but they're actually all over the place. These are stores like Forever 21, H&M, Zara, Topshop, Primark, Mango. They're really big stores and they're super popular all over the world. And they're called fast fashion brands because they are really cheap compared to other brands and other higher end designers. And because of that, the prices are much more affordable for most of society and shoppers. And fast fashion means that the garments are produced at an accelerated pace, so they're actually swapping out these clothes almost maybe every 2 weeks, maybe even more frequently. They're constantly coming in with new clothes because they want shoppers to come back for the next new thing, and they know that people are driven by consumerism and always want to have something new and be able to just kind of disregard what they've purchased last week. Another problem with fast fashion is that these stores are actually copying designs that they see from the runway from young designers or bigger luxury brands that are actually spending time to come up with ideas, and they're able to steal their ideas and designs quite quickly and remake them into cheaper versions that they then can sell to the mass public. And because these clothes are cheaper, they're usually worse in quality, which means that they can tear more easily, or after a few washes they might not retain their original shapes or color, and this makes the item more disposable. And again, people won't really feel the need to try to repair it or take care of it because it was already relatively cheap to purchase in the beginning. So the second reason why the fashion industry is really unsustainable is because of the amount of pollution it contributes to the environment and the amount of resources that it uses. So to make clothes, you have to dye fabrics and process them, as well as grow the fibers to make garments. So for example, one pair of jeans, to grow the cotton for those single pair of jeans is the equivalent of about 1,800 gallons of water, and that's a lot of water. So multiply that by the amount of jeans that is produced each year. That's like millions of gallons of water just to grow the fibers. And then to actually dye the clothes takes more water, and the chemicals used to create synthetic dyes for most garments is really toxic and can end up in the water streams and travel down the ecosystem. Another issue is with textile waste, and in the United States alone, about 11 million tons of textiles end up in landfills every year, and that's because people dispose of their clothes and just throw them away, often without trying to find a second or third life for the item or donating the item to a thrift shop. So yeah, there ends up being lots of textiles and clothes in landfills that just sit there and will take a long time to decay or might not even biodegrade because of the type of fibers that it's made out of. Another thing I've learned from studying fashion is that you end up wasting a lot of fabric while you're designing and making samples, as well as in the final product of the garment, because most often than not, people are making garments and the pattern isn't going to fit exactly into a rectangle or a square to fill the entire yardage of the fabric that they're using. So there ends up being lots of scraps and little bits that you can't really do much with unless you go in with the intention of creating zero waste designs and, you know, using those waste fabrics in another project, or to design with intention and patterning so that you are using every single bit of the yardage of fabric. The third reason why I think the current fashion industry is unsustainable is because of the lack of transparency in the supply chain and the lack of transparency in who's making these garments and how these garment workers are being treated. I feel like there are some companies currently that are really trying to be transparent with how their clothes are being made and, you know, putting it in their mission to be very honest about how everything is being produced. But most often, and especially with fast fashion, these companies don't want anyone to know how their things are being produced and, you know, the reality behind these garments. One of the news stories that broke out and really shook the fashion industry and, you know, caused people to really start questioning how their clothes were being made was the collapse of the Rana Plaza building in 2013. A lot of garment workers working overtime in really unsafe conditions. The building had cracks in it. The garment workers had voiced complaints, but their managers weren't willing to, you know, take those complaints seriously and, you know, check for the safety of the building. And the conditions that these workers are in are also working with overtime hours, you know, working at really fast pace to try to meet the demands of these fast fashion companies and meet the demands of their bosses. The reality is that a lot of these clothes that are being sold in fast fashion companies are being made in third world countries where they're actually women who are trying to make ends meet, and often very young women who are trying to support their families. And the conditions that they are in are very brutal. They aren't allowed to take bathroom breaks. They're, you know, made to fulfill a certain quota for the day, but the quota is really ridiculous and they're not really allowed to take breaks in between. So if they don't fill their quota, they won't get paid for that day or for that hour that they're working. And these conditions are just really stressful and unfortunate. Thank you so much for watching, guys. These are just 3 reasons why I feel like the fashion industry is unsustainable. There are definitely other reasons out there that are also contributing to the problem. And I do feel like more and more companies are starting to be more conscious about how they're making clothes and trying to make it a part of, you know, their future goals to make the industry better. I just hope this helps, you know, raise awareness about some of the issues surrounding fashion. And thank you again for watching. I hope you have an amazing day. Bye!